welcome to episode 8 of F9 Sports Media Podcast. I'm Cooper.
My name's Aaron. Let's jump into it.
So, there's been a lot of injuries that have affected a lot of teams. So, injuries, it always sucks because then, star players, rookie players, it doesn't matter who it is, it always affects the team. But the Astros, they've got 5 players that are out with injuries, big names too, Altuve, Brantley, and then great pitchers too, like Urquidy, Valdez, and McCullers. How do you think what they're gonna do?
Well, the Astros have started off the season okay. They haven't. It's not the typical Astros that we're used to seeing. But like you said, it's 2 middle of the order, or 2 of their better bats in the batting order. Altuve, Brantley, neither of them have played at all this season.
Yeah.
On the injured list. Then you've got pitchers like Lance McCullers, who hasn't played yet this year, and then recently this week, injuries to Jose Urquidy and Framber Valdez. The Astros are going to need to get healthy real quick. Yeah. They're really going to need to lean on some of those young guys like Hunter Brown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was they can't rely, but they can't rely on the rookie to carry them to the World Series.
No, they're going to need some help. They're going to need those guys to get healthy and come back, but they will need to lean on the rookies right now during this time where they've got where they're dealing with the injuries. I mean, I know it'll be interesting to see how it goes. There was an article in The Athletic just this week that talked about how people were worried about the pitch clock contributing to pitcher injuries and not having the time to rest in between pitches and having to go faster. I don't know if I believe it, but there are definitely a lot of injuries that are starting to pile up right now across the major leagues.
Yeah, the Astros' rival, the Yankees, also dealing with injuries. New guys, old guys. Bader, good center fielder, great outfielder, got a good bat. Donaldson, the third baseman, and most of all, Aaron Judge.
Yeah, we'll see how well Aaron Judge is able to come back from that hip injury. I think, it always sounds a little weird when a guy injures a hip, especially a power hitter, and we'll see how he's able to come back from that. I think one of the biggest losses though is their shiny new free agent signee Carlos Rodon.
Yes.
Being on the injured list as well. That's definitely got to put a damper on the Yankees. They're already down Luis Severino, putting a lot of extra heat on their pitching staff also, to try to pick up the slack.
Yeah, definitely. And Mets, they picked up pitchers and they picked up some great players, but it doesn't really help if you pay a bunch of money and pick up great players if they just get injured.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about 3 of the most critical pieces of the Mets pitching staff this year, new signees, Justin Verlander and Jose Quintana. Neither one of them have pitched yet this year. And then also the closer, Edwin Diaz, blew out his knee during the World Baseball Classic. Verlander seems to be getting closer and closer to a return. But they're already kind of playing from behind, chasing the Braves in the AL East or in the NL East. Neither Verlander nor Quintana are necessarily young guys, and this could be the last year for Verlander, no matter what. Who knows? I know he'd like to pitch till he's 45, but Father Time is undefeated, and you never know how it's going to go. And so there's not a lot of time for them to be wasting at this point.
All right, now let's listen to Bryce Harper.
We're healed to where I need to be, and we're just gonna play the game smart and play it the right way, and not push the craziness of how I kind of play, but understanding that I help my team when I'm on the field, not when I'm off the field. Listen to where my mind was, and just try to understand how much my body has performed for me. I really try to do everything I could to get to this point. It's been a grind. I think, coming in each day, some days on the field or in there, just understanding my body and how I feel and what I can push myself mentally and physically. Really having an understanding of my body and how it kind of works. If it was going to feel good that day, I wanted to push it. If I was going to feel bad that day, I wanted to back that off a little bit. So really just trying to progress each day that I could, and when I felt good, progress more that day. When I needed to, take back a little bit, take a rest day when I needed to here and there. But like I said, my body has been very good to me in this process. I've worked very hard on both sides of that, in the weight room, diet, whatever I can put forward to make my body heal quicker or faster or whatever I needed to do, I do.
So that was Bryce Harper, with the return of record-breaking days from Tommy John. He's gonna put a better bat into the Phillies lineup that they've been needing. Haven't been scoring a bunch of runs, but their defense has been pretty good. They just need that Bryce's hot bat to lead them to more runs.
Yeah, I think it's definitely impressive the speed with which he came back from the Tommy John surgery. The Phillies have him playing there at designated hitter, which I think is a good spot for him. Not having to put any pressure on the elbow. They definitely need the bat. They definitely need the bat in the lineup. Just kind of goes to show what kind of freak Bryce Harper is, though. He had surgery just a few months ago, and I know he's not a pitcher, and everything else, and whatnot. But still, to be able to come back, people weren't expecting him until at the beginning of the year. They were thinking All-Star break at the earliest.
Yeah.
But the speed with which he's making that return is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the grind he's had to put in to do it. He said the diet. He's got to wait. He's in the weight room every day. It's impressive how much he's putting in the work. All right, next. Speaking of Bryce Harper played first game in a while as DH last night. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, like I said, just impressive that he was able to come back that quick. The Phillies can use the bat in the lineup.
All right, next. James Harden scored 45. He hit a late three as the 76ers down the Celtics 119-115.
Yeah, I think watching that play, the 76ers were down. 76ers were down, and James Harden kind of playing some ISO at the top of the key, drains that long three. Hopefully it puts a little bit of energy into James Harden. I know that he doesn't necessarily have the reputation as being a big game player in the playoffs, and coming up, he has a history of coming up short in some of those clutch moments, but he definitely didn't in game one, putting the 76ers on top.
Yeah, and the Packers, after getting going on with Aaron Rodgers, they needed to move on, so they got a 1-year extension with quarterback Jordan Love.
It is what it is. I think they kind of had to do that. They had to show Jordan Love a little bit of love and commit to him. Moving on from Aaron Rodgers, I think it was just a formality of just being like, hey, you're the guy. This is how we're going to show you that you're the guy. Here's an extension to your contract.
Yeah. The Bruins, big team, best record in NHL history, lost in the playoffs to the Panthers.
You know what? Couldn't have happened to a nicer team. You hate to see it, but actually, no, you don't. I think the Bruins are annoying to watch. I don't like the style of play. I don't like some of the players on their team. I don't like the way. I just don't like the Bruins. And so to see the Bruins go from being the being the best regular season team in NHL history to flaming out in the first round, losing to the Panthers in a Game 7 on home ice. Boo-hoo, cry me a river. I don't really care. I just really I think it's a big story to see a historic team like that crash and burn. But Brad Marchand and things like that, I don't mind seeing that little rat face lose.
All right, next. The Braves slugger Ronald Acuna exits after hit by pitch versus the Mets. I was watching the highlights of this game, and he got hit by a pitch, but I think he was kind of making a show of it. I didn't think it was that bad.
Ronald Acuna Jr. being dramatic? No way. And speaking of guys whose style of play that I don't really like, but I hope he's okay. You never like to see anybody get hit, but I kind of tend to agree. I think he kind of made a bigger deal of it than it needed to be. Guys get hit all the time.
Not a big deal. Yeah. Steph Curry scored playoff career 50 points as the Warriors down the Kings.
I don't mind seeing the Warriors lose either, but big shout out to Steph Curry in that game. He put the team on his shoulders on the road there against Sacramento and just said, hey, we're going to put some of this drama behind us. They have obviously got some kind of locker room chemistry issues. Didn't matter. He said, let's go. And he put the team on his shoulders and they went and won. So big shout out to him. Tough series against the Lakers coming up now for them.
Yeah. And this one, the funniest of them all, Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks fined $25,000 for not talking to the media. I mean, I don't know why you would not talk to the media.
I can understand being upset. Being upset after a loss and whatnot, but you're a pro, right? You're a pro. Do the things that pros do. And in addition to the $25,000, Dylan Brooks is also going to pay for it. He's going to pay for it in terms of his contract. The Grizzlies announced this week that they were not going to re-sign him. They were going to let him go in free agency. That it was best for both teams for them to part ways. And so Dylan Brooks is the longest tenured member of the Grizzlies right now, and the Grizzlies are saying, hey man, I just don't know if it's worth it anymore. The way he called out LeBron, calling LeBron old, didn't talk to the media, drawing some extra fouls, not fulfilling some of his defensive responsibilities and causing some lapses there. The Grizzlies were just like, hey man, we're done with you. So, in addition to that $25,000, he's going to pay for it with his contract also.
Yeah. Big dude for the Astros coming up clutch. He's 20 with the dude with the 20 hit streak, Mauricio Dubon. 3 hits, highlighted by a tie-breaking RBI double in a 5-run 7th inning. The Houston Astros beat the Giants 7-3 on Monday night. I was getting scared. I actually thought that the Astros were gonna lose to the Giants of all people.
Yeah, we talked earlier about people needing to step up in the absence of injured players, and that's exactly what Mauricio Dubon has done.
Yeah.
Jeremy Pena hasn't had the best start to the season. They're down Altuve, down Brantley, and everything else. And what do? They just plug in some random guy who starts hitting the ball. It's the same thing that they did.
You just gotta hit the ball. You don't have to crush it. You just gotta hit like Dubon, like 20-game hitting streak. That'll really help you.
Yeah. Same thing as Pena last year, where you put in some random guy that you weren't sure what you were going to get, and he produces like that. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks to Clutch Points, ESPN, MLB, and The Athletic for our information. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.